Welcome to the Worth Listening podcast, where we focus on having positive and productive conversations around money. I'm your host, Lauryn, a 4-time Olympian and certified financial planner. On this show, my guests share their money stories. Everyone has a unique story and experiences both wins and losses when it comes to money. My intent is to give listeners something they can relate to, something that builds their courage to be open and take control of their own money story. When I'm not creating a great show for my listeners, I'm running my company, Worth Winning, where I help individuals and families organize their finances. Check us out at worth-winning.com. All right, now on with the show. Welcome to 2023. I hope 2022 was amazing for each and every one of you, and I'm so excited about what this year has to offer. But before we talk about this year, I think we should do a quick wrap up of what 2022 was like. So we are now at 42,000 downloads. Thanks to each and every one of you who has listened to this podcast and got us to that number. You can check the show notes because I want people to actually look at the resources we put in the show notes for the top 3 episodes of 2022. And I wanted to share who's listening out there. So US continues to be number 1 on the podcast. Canada is in a close second. And then the UK is coming up third. So no surprise, the English-speaking countries. But there are tons of other listeners out there. And I want to make sure I recognize you because I appreciate you. And I want you to keep listening. We've got Germany. We've got Spain, Singapore, Antigua. We've got a lot of people in Rwanda, India, Bahamas, Netherlands. You name it, we are global, this podcast. So I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in every 2 weeks to listen to people share their money memoirs, or Chloe and I on a series, or no telling what money topic we're covering, but we're trying to educate you to be the best you can be financially. So just thank you so much for listening. Don't be afraid to write a review, like, share, comment, all of those things that, of course, help other people be able to listen to this podcast. And obviously, the whole point of this podcast for me is to have a grand impact. Speaking of impact, let's talk 2023 goals. So it has long been a goal of mine to help more people better understand their finances, understand the foundational principles of finances, to get rid of all the noise that's out there in the world about personal finance, and help people be able to actually take real action. Yes, I desire to earn a living, but for me, it's really all about passion. This is a passion project. If you've never listened to my story, I encourage you to go back and listen to the why behind my financial life before I became a financial planner. But this is driven by what I feel like is my calling in life. It's to be able to help other people make good decisions with their money. So let me talk a little bit about what the business is doing this year. So Worth Winning is the name of the company. If you haven't checked this out, and we traditionally help young professionals organize their finances. We still do that. That is our expertise. But this year we pared down the one-on-one offerings. We have 2 offerings only now. You can do 1 meeting or you can do 2 meetings. And I'm not going to go into the details of that. But we are focusing on one-to-many this year. When I say one-to-many, we will be pitching companies to be able to provide financial planning as a workplace benefit. So we'd love to be able to come in and not just do like 1-hour PowerPoint presentations that are boring and dull and teach you very little, but like whole workshops where you get to dive into the details, and then we hang out afterward and people get one-on-one consultation. So sounds like something cool. Make sure you pitch that to your HR department or your ERG department or whomever you think might be the person, so that your employer can pay for you to have this benefit of enriched personal finances. And actually, if you're listening to this podcast at the day that it comes out, which is generally Tuesdays, yesterday we closed our 12-week program. So that was another of our one-to-many offerings we launched this year. It is a group offering where people will be meeting online every week for the next 12 weeks in a group environment, working specifically with me to build their own financial plan. So I am all about making sure that people are educated instead of enabled. So much of financial planning is like, oh, I got a financial planner to handle my stuff for me. I don't want my clients to feel like they don't know what's going on in their financial life. And so many people need to understand what is going on in their financial life so that they can be more proactive and interactive with their finances. So that's what the 12-week program is all about. And the curriculum I created is actually twofold. We're going to be using that for financial retreats as well. I think you've probably heard about it if you've been listening to the podcast for quite a while. So this year, our retreats are in Colombia in July and Bali in August. So if you want to learn stuff about your money and also go on a super cool trip, make sure you check out the website. Of course, the link will be in the show notes, but we're taking financial planning and we're making it financial planning. There's no reason that this can't be in an environment where people feel safe, they feel comfortable being able to have conversation, they're enjoying themselves. And instead of thinking of finances as something that's like, oh, this is dull, it's boring, it's a budget, it's responsibility, all these bad words, like, why don't we put financial planning in a positive light and create an environment where people can actually learn about their finances? So I'm super excited about that. And of course, I have some personal goals, and I always share pretty transparently on this podcast. I don't have a bunch of things to talk about in the personal area this year. The main thing is I'm turning 40 in September. And so, it kind of leads to those like 10-year or every decade crisis. I remember thinking by the time I turned 30, I was going to speak 3 languages and be debt free. That was my goal. So that's a goal I set for myself in my 20s. And when I say debt free, the only kind of debt that I had at that time was my mortgages. So I had planned to have no mortgages by the time I was 30. That did not happen. It did happen in 2017. I became debt free as per the mortgage world. But I don't speak 3 languages and I am now turning 40. So 1 language is on my list. My main goal for this year is to improve my Spanish, get over the hump, get comfortable talking with more confidence. I took some classes last year, had a private tutor. I'm actually recording this podcast from Argentina where I will be going to class for 4 hours a day. And I'm super lucky I chose this place because the time difference works out perfectly. I'm an early riser. So it'll be such that I go to class from 9:30 to 1 here, but I'll still have the whole workday, be able to get, my other obligations met. Yes, it's going to be some long days, but I think when you have a goal, it's totally worth it. And I'm sure you all have set some goals and we've got to be working toward those things. So let's do it. All right, let's talk about what's on tap for the podcast this year. We will continue our series with Chloe Moore, a certified financial planner, one of my financial planning besties. You guys seem to be loving this series, so we brought it back. You also gave great reviews to the VC series, so we'll probably do a round 2 of that. And of course, we will continue to mix in people's money memoirs, where people come on and they share their money story, whatever it is, because I believe that a true impact can be had when you listen to people and realize you're not alone, that your financial woes and your financial wins are not unique to you. Even though we're all living independent lives, there are a lot of things that we have in common. I don't want anyone to feel alone as they pursue various aspects of their finances. So if you want to share your money memoir, you know where to find us, podcast@worth-listening.com. And so as I close it out, Happy New Year. I wish you all the best in 2023. Please do set some goals, but also be kind to yourself as you pursue them. Make sure that you write them out, actually put pen to paper, and also write out the action items necessary to achieve those goals. Don't forget to post them in a place where you can revisit them. Don't put them in your phone where you never open it again. It is so important to have some goals. They don't have to be resolutions. They don't have to be, by this date, this time, this thing. If I didn't achieve it, the world ends. Give yourself a little grace if you don't get to where you want to go. This Spanish goal of mine was a 2022 goal. Here it is, beginning of 2023. I didn't quit. That's the thing that's most important. Is like maybe we don't achieve it in the way that we thought we would, but not giving up on your goals is an important piece of the puzzle. So please don't be bashful about writing in, sharing what you want to hear. Like I said, sharing any other feedback. I show up here every 2 weeks for you all. As I mentioned, this podcast is a labor of love. So let's go. Let's make 2023 our best year yet.